The people that need this right now aren't listening to this.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
And
that's why I think 87% of the agents fell in this business because, they're looking at it as a 9-to-5 job. You're a CEO of your own business.
Welcome to Stay Paid Insurance and Financial Marketing. Unlock the secrets of success in insurance and financial services, where each episode delivers valuable tips and strategies to elevate your marketing game and help you succeed in both life and business. Brought to you by Reminder Media. Welcome to Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree, and our guest today is Tony Holland. Tony is the CEO of Global Premier Benefits and a managing partner of Integrity with from a pre-med student living in his van to becoming one of the top insurance agents in the country. Tony's bringing his 30 years of experience in the insurance industry to teach others how to grow their book of business and multiply their sales. Tony, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you. Love that introduction, man. I got to take you on my road show, brother.
Josh has the best intro in the podcast biz, as we say.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Tell us about living in the van, man, and why were you living in the van, and how did you climb out of that?
Well, I didn't grow up with a lot of luxuries. A single parent household. My mom did the best she could with what she had. I was fortunate enough to be a pretty decent student in high school. I was a pretty good football player and track star, I guess you would have called it that. So I got an offer to go to Johns Hopkins University, where I was studying pre-med. And, I did fairly well there. But I realized medicine wasn't going to be for me. I realized real quick I didn't like blood. I didn't like hospitals. So wrong profession. Yeah. So ventured out, did a stint on Wall Street, found out real quick why they're called stockbrokers. Ended up broke and living out of the van temporarily. And, I just realized, I had something I called. I always had that hunger inside. And I remember tapping into Tony Robbins. You guys know Tony Robbins back in those days, 1993.
Wow.
And going into 1994. And it was just tough times. It was, it was a tough situation because my van leaked oil from the front and gasoline from the back. So I was a walking riding disaster. But how I ended up there was just fell on tough times. Didn't know where to go. Didn't have a home to go back to, and so I lived out of that. And then a buddy of mine told me about insurance, and I said, "Let me give this up there a try." Because Wall Street didn't work out. Going to med school didn't work out. What am I going to do? So I gave it a shot, and boom, made over $7,000 my first month and never looked back.
Oh my gosh. What type of insurance were you selling at the time?
I was working for a company called American Income Life.
Okay.
You've heard of them? Out of Waco, Texas. It was kind of a labor union type of format where they gave you leads, and you went out and showed them. I started on a 40% contract. I didn't even know what contracts look like. So I started a 40% contract and still made $7,000
that
first
ridiculous,
month. So,
man. Were you naturally good at sales, I guess? How did you, you're come out of the gate swinging like that? You obviously have some innate natural talent. You cut your teeth in the stockbroker floor.
Right.
But how did you teach yourself sales? How did you prospect and do all that?
What I did is, first of all, I wasn't afraid to talk to people. I was head of a big fraternity at Johns Hopkins, so it taught you to be social because I wasn't that social prior to going into the fraternity. So it taught me to be able to talk to people about, the organization I was part of. But I honed my skills by listening to, back to those cassette tapes. My biggest one was Tom Hopkins.
Yeah, Tom Hopkins.
Then Brian Tracy. Of course, I spent that whole year studying Tony Robbins because I learned, where I was in life had a lot to do with my environment and also what was going in and out of my what's my brain, between my 2 ears. And I just realized I had more in me. I always had that desire to succeed. I'm very competitive. So I think that played a big role in that as well.
Okay. So if because now you've been in the business, how long? 30 years?
30 years.
30 years. You've absolutely crushed it. You're a partner at Integrity now. You've sold. your business, you're crushing. What do you tell to younger, newer agents that are getting in? There's the mindset that they need, but how do they cut their teeth and learn the sales skills to go out there and close deals? Because if I'm an agent right now, I'm like, hey, Tony, help me know, like, what should I be doing to close more deals?
Well, let's go back. First of all, they have to have 3 tenets, which I was taught by Bernard Rappaport back in the day. And I call Tony's 3 tenets to success in this business or any other business. You have to have the right attitude, first and foremost. If you're in this business just for the money, you're going to fail. The money's great, but you have to have the right attitude. Why you're in this business, you got to have a passion for helping people. It has to be bigger than just making a dollar. You're saving people's lives. You're saving the money, saving their lives. I mean, there's stories I had of, there was one specifically, I talked a family, into getting a child rider and they didn't want it. I'm like, it's only $5. You can cover all 3 kids. Well, within 6 months, I had to help file a claim and deliver a check to the family for one of their 12-year-old kids that drowned on Lake Linganore near Frederick, Maryland. So to me, that's what my passion for what I did. I realized it's not just old people that can pass away or have challenges. I mean, that's a life-changing situation, but there's young kids, it happens to. So, that's when really my business took off, when I had to take care of my first claim. It was a 12-year-old kid. So the thing I tell people, you have to have the right attitude, number one. Number two, you have to have the right work ethic. This is not a freelance job. All the top, I know all the top 6, 7, 8, 9-figure guys in this business because I've done it at every level. You got to work. I mean, the average agent only works about half of what they should. If you're not putting in 60, 70 hours a week in this, you're not going to see 7 figures. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, you got to know your skill set. You got to hone in on the right skills. Selling is a skill, just like dancing, just like singing, just like writing, creating music. It's a skill set. And it's not just talking to people. You can have the gift for gab, and I have that. But also, I had to know how to choice close. I had to know how to do oblique comparison closing. I had to know how to do, affirmative yes closing. Those type of things were taught to me by Tom Hopkins and Brian Tracy and many others throughout my career. And what I did, it shocked me when I was at American Income, when these guys would come into town, Tony Robbins and Tom Hopkins and Brian Tracy and all these gurus, I would be the only one from the office going, the people that need this right now aren't listening to this.
Yeah,
isn't that amazing? That's why I think 87% of the agents fell in this business because, they're looking at it as a 9-to-5 job. You're a CEO of your own business. And that's something I teach now about establishing your business, having the LLCs, having an S corp, having a mindset of a business owner and not just an agent. The world has changed so much in the last year, especially like in social media. With a smartphone, you can Google anybody and within seconds find out what they're all about. So what do you look like on social media? I tell guys. And most of them can't give me an answer. I'm like, that's why you're failing. Because that client is looking you up, before they're going to give you a check, just so you know that they are. And I think that's something that, that needs to resonate more in this industry. You have to master those 3 tenets, and you also have to make sure, because I have what's called the 10 tips to 10X in your business. I've done a podcast. I'm sure you guys heard of Cody Askins.
Yeah.
And it was a big hit. It went viral because no one ever taught agents to think like a CEO. So those are my 3 things. And I think the most important is the attitude, then obviously followed by the work ethic, and then honing in on your skill sets, not just your product skill sets, but how to work with people. Because the main thing you got to sell in sales is sell what?
Yeah, people, yourself, really, but yeah, people. You
got to sell yourself, right? If you can't sell you, doesn't matter what that product is all about. Doesn't matter the rate. Doesn't matter the what the AM Best rating is and anything else. It doesn't matter. You can give it away for free. If they don't trust or like you, if you didn't sell you, they're going to wait for the next agent to come along.
Preach,
that was
man.
a long answer to a simple
preach.
question.
I love it. There's a famous quote: "Your attitude will directly affect your altitude." in life.
Absolutely.
And I agree with that 1,000%. Layla Hermosi had a post on her story. I don't know if you know the Hermosis, Alex and Layla Hermosi. They're all over the place content-wise, but, serial entrepreneurs. But she talked about the businesses she invests in and what she looks in the founders that are winners. And she goes, I look for the obsessive compulsive founder that literally just obsesses day and night about their business. She goes, they might not make the greatest people, but they sure make a heck of a business owner because they are just, and it ties to the amount you're working. Like the CEO doesn't turn it off. It doesn't mean you don't have some form of balance in your life, but the truth is you don't turn it off. If you want to be an entrepreneur and a CEO, if you want to drive a company to new heights, you want to make 7 figures, you got to put in that work. You got to be obsessed. Elon Musk was sleeping on the factory floor. It's like, come on.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about marketing, right? Because this is a marketing podcast too. And you had shared something interesting that you still believe in business cards and kind of your whole philosophy. You had shared this in our pre-call that we did. And I just want to get your take on marketing and branding. You mentioned a little bit on social media, but can you share a little bit about your take there?
Yeah. So what I teach in my tenets platform is that start conducting business like you're the CEO of your business, because you are. You're an independent contractor. You're an entrepreneur. You have to make sure you have those in place, from having an LLC S corp to having your business banking set up. That's a big thing with the IRS. If you're having it go to your personal account, that's a red flag. So you need to keep your business and your personal account separate. But getting into marketing, I call it branding. You got to have, like you said about the business cards, but it's so important, the right kind of business cards. And what I do is some of my seminars, I ask them to pull out their card. You want to make sure you have your beautiful headshot on the card.
Look at that handsome guy right there.
You want to see it? You touch my business card, they're thick, they got gold trim, very, very nice business cards. You can see that there. But I have my mug shot right there. You got to smile. You got to have a professional headshot. Mine was taken by a professional photographer. It's amazing. I look at people's cards, I'm like, that alone it's flimsy, it's cheap. And I know we're in the tech world, you need to have both. But I think it's like your own personal billboard. And if you have pride in your business card, that means you're going to take pride in your business. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, man. I mean, we obviously, most people know who listen to this, we put together a 48-page coffee table magazine for, agents and stuff. And that's the same concept. It's basically like, you don't want to think about it this way, but this is how human beings are. First impression matters. People's impression of you matters, whether you think so or not, whether you think it's vain, you don't think it's vain, doesn't matter. It's like, it matters to people how you come across. That means it matters how you dress. It matters what your business card is like. It matters what you look like when you're on social media. And this is not a pitch to say about, how good looking you are. It's not about good looks. It's about professionalism. That's really the key.
Yeah. And I found out the guys that implement these tools and techniques I teach, and if any of your listeners want to reach out to me, you're more than welcome to share my information, because I teach guys how to transform their, 5-figure business into a 7-figure business. You guys know Bobby Jones. You had him on one time.
Yeah.
He followed to the T what I taught him, and now he's one of the biggest names in Medicare. He did the things I told him to, like the lawn signs, the banners, the billboards, the apparel, the professional headshot, the commercials, the little things I used to do back in the day. I used to have the little counters that had the little sticky on the front. You would take the sticky off and put your business card right there, because your client goes to the refrigerator. That's the most used appliance they have in our household. So I want to make sure I'm constantly branding myself. Putting my name and information into their iPhone. That's always important. I don't put under Tony Holland. I put it under my insurance man, because they're going to forget your name and they're talking to someone on the at the bowling club or at the bridge club or at the Masonics Lodge, and like, you need help with insurance? You need to talk to my insurance man. So I'm under my insurance man, or if you're a woman, my insurance lady, whatever that is. So I think that's important. So I want to make sure not only I got billboards up and branding up, I want to make sure I'm branded to my clients because they're free, get this, they're free PR reps. Mm-hmm. I want everybody, whether it's 50, 100, or thousands, be walking billboards for me. So that's why you want to give swag to your clients, nice pens, pill boxes. You got to invest in your business, and most agents aren't doing these things. That's shocking. They wonder why they're struggling. They don't nail down the basics and brand like you should have. Everyone on this call should have set up their own Better Business Bureau rating. For $350, you get tools, marketing, and support, but you get to post that little icon, with the BBB, with the flame on top. Yeah. And accredited business, and they give you immediately an A+ rating. And long as you satisfy any complaints, you keep that A+ rating. So I've had that for almost 30 years. And some people smart. That's old school. It's not old school. It's still new. People still check that out, especially if you're dealing with the over 50 crowd. They still check out Better Business Bureau when they want to do business with someone.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
Yeah, and it's one more trust signal that you can put on the rest of your branding, like you're talking about. What about the lead sources? Like, where are you seeing? I know you mentioned word of mouth, PR, personal. Your clients really kind of being your, maybe referrals is a huge one for you. But where else are you seeing leads working?
Well, I see leads working. I have my own digital media company, and you guys can reach out to me about that. Something I partner with some of the best in the industry, and they're killing it. And whatever type of leads you need, IUL, Medicare leads, final expense leads. I think it's important to have a good, reliable lead resource. Social media has been great. Basic for over 50 crowds, Facebook has been the best. When you're selling to a younger crowd, you can try out Instagram. I'm doing a lot of work on LinkedIn because for me personally, I'm going after business professionals that I want to do business with. But really what I teach in my grassroots marketing, I teach guys how to not have to use a lead again. The average lead conversion closing ratio is about 20 to 30% on average. My guys' average on grassroots marketing is about 75 to 80%.
Wow.
So which would you rather have more of? So when I do grassroots marketing, I'm going after church groups, community outreach centers, food banks, especially for Medicare, golf clubs, synagogues, you name it. I'm going after them to build that relationship with the head of the organization to then grassroots through that organization, if that makes sense.
As a way to connect you with anyone, so basically you become their trusted insurance guy.
Yeah, I some people say, Tony, my best day in sales, I did over 80 sales in one day. And people are like, how did you do that? I mean, it was a few years back, so I made about $40,000 in one day.
That's not bad.
It was a grassroots event. And people are like, how did you do that? I'm like, I set up an event with the pastor of the church, who sent 2 cards to me, by the way, and said no both times, by the way. I didn't give up. But what I got him on is what I offer through my organization. I have additional tools. I do free wills, Social Security analysts for them. I help them with the legacy safeguard. I help them with the veterans. I have a veterans program I do to help veterans get more out of their pension. I have a program for diabetics. I have a program, discount health services like vision, hearing, dental, prescription drugs. So I offer more value up front. I've always taught you offer value up front. It's much easier, one, to make the sale and then get referrals. So that's always been my approach in terms of how I built my business. I didn't use leads after a while. I didn't. And if I did use leads, every single one of those leads, I'm going to get at least nine referrals, and then that last one's going to be their affiliation, their Masonics Lodge, Elks Club, the church they go to, their VFW, American Legion, because I want to get inside, their organization. That's what I did. Grassroots marketing is the only way I've seen guys, make that high-end income with zero cost for leads.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But it's the truth. Like, honestly, if you've built a brand and you actually take care of your clients and you keep in touch and you build the relationship, then you will rein in referrals.
Well, just like this a simple thing that you can do. This one idea I've taught the agents across the country. Pull up for Medicare, pull up the directory, and it says open panel. Okay. What does open panel mean?
I don't know.
Do y'all know?
No.
Open panel means they need customers.
Oh.
So what I would do, I go out to this doctor's facility, this doctor's office facility, and I'd say, I see you have an open panel. Is that still true? Yes, it is. Well, I'm a representative of XYZ companies, and I see right here, and I'll pull up the directory, and I'll show them you're in the Humana or Aetna or Cigna, whatever directory. And it says you have an open panel. That means you need help with getting customers. Most doctors have zero clue on how to market and get their business out there. So I tell you what, I'm the local rep for XYZ companies. I'm going to be telling, people about you because you have an open panel. Do you have some flyers that I could get from you so I can tell people who you are? Who's going to say no to that?
Yeah.
If you have an open panel. And I say, then what you can do for me, I'm going to come out and do a training to your staff on how Medicare Advantage works. But also, I'd like you to put up, a compliant poster. Our posters, I'll show your team if they want them, how they can then drive business your way. So you're going to be driving business to them in that specific zip code, because they have an open panel. They need customers. They're going to be driving clients to you because you also have an open panel. Get it?
That's so good. It triggers so much reciprocity. It's literally the Gary V. Give before you take. You're literally going in and going, hey, I want to help you get patients. I want to help you get new customers. I mean, nobody's going to say no to that. And you're tapping in, and now you've immediately elevated yourself. You've gotten yourself out of the pack of other agents that have come in looking to gain business, but you've given to them, so you stand out immediately.
Right. Well, and I think that's why, the guys on my team, I can name hundreds of them that are 7-figure guys and done extremely well. I've even helped some of my team members become integrity partners. That's something that I've been positioned with the company with integrity to do, to help them become integrity partners. So some of your listeners, if they're on that trajectory and want to be considered, I'm the guy that you can talk to help you facilitate that opportunity. I get you to a front seat at the board table, and you can present your business and what you're about, and be in a position to become an integrity partner, which is a very lucrative opportunity. I think everyone on this call has heard of integrity, and it's a beautiful company, great people. One thing I noticed about integrity, when I went down there every single time, everyone has a smile on their face, and all the good. I mean, we gave out over 90,000 toys over this past Christmas.
That's incredible.
To local hospitals, children's hospitals, 90,000 toys donated.
That's amazing.
So
man.
We're doing a lot of great stuff, in terms
well,
of
integrity is scooping
business.
Everybody up, man. Like they are crushing it. I mean, it feels like two big players in the space, right? Integrity and then I guess AmeriLife. But integrity, and we keep coming across amazing people like John Wetmore and stuff like that at Integrity, that you guys are really crushing the game. What do you think? I'm curious because we have great relationships with a lot of integrity partners. And we have a lot of great relationships with IMOs across the country and FMOs. But do you think the IMOs going away? Do you think like all these rulings that are happening with leads?
No, there's been a lot of changes. The whole CMS ruling, and we were blessed to find out about 2 weeks ago when they came down with the ruling. We fought that, like no other campaign.
I'm sure, yeah.
We had senators and Congress people because they wanted to get rid of IMOs.
Right, correct.
But they backed off of it, so that they're not touching our overrides.
Nice.
The one change that they did make is that the whole co-op setup is going to be gone in 2025. For any 2025 business going forward, there won't be any co-ops. But a good thing for the agents, they're giving the agents, instead of a $31 raise, they're giving them a $100 raise on 2025 business. So that's the bulk of what came out of that. So that was, to me, was a blessing, but what they want to try to do is prevent agents being incentivized to flip plans.
Gotcha.
You should only switch a plan if it's the best interest for the client. And many of them were switching plans because they were going to get an additional co-op dollar to make that happen. So they want to eliminate that.
So all co-op is going away? All co-ops going away?
Yeah, come any January 1 effective 2025, there won't be co-ops available. That's going by the wayside. But like I said, they're giving the agents $100 increase.
Yeah, so they're getting a raise. Yeah, correct. They're getting a raise.
So that way it's an equal playing field.
Okay.
You can't push Aetna over Humana anymore except for the value it brings the client.
That makes sense.
Not because you're getting additional $100 on top of your commission. So they want to get rid of that. They've also changed rules in terms of call centers and how you can telemarket, how you can reach out to the client, which is all good. Really, they want to get rid of those J.J. Walker and Joe Namath commercials, which they've done. These big unethical call centers is really what created a lot of the problems we have in our industry. So they're going to have a tougher time to operate. So they're pretty much trying to weed out the bad and focus on the good that's being done in Medicare Advantage.
It makes so much sense. You're a freaking beast, man. Last question for you. Knowing what you know today, 30 years in, what would you go back and tell younger Tony? What advice would you give him?
That's a good question, man. No, that's a very, very good question. You know what I'd say to myself? Don't sweat the small stuff. Because I was a very high intense guy, very A-type, very competitive. I realized through my career that God has a way of blessing you through adversity, and I didn't understand that. So I had a situation with a life insurance company that I helped found. I won't mention the name because I'm sure some of your people work with them, but they did me wrong and try to find a loophole not to pay my renewals. And back then it was a lot of money. It's $34,000 a month. And I had to go to court and end up suing them and winning 8 years later at $1 million in legal fees. But
Jeez.
I sweated that so much. And you guys said, that's not small stuff. Yeah, not looking back on it was, but God promoted me to the next level. It forced me to go into a whole nother industry, which I started with a company called Bravo Health. It became the top guy there in distribution. Then HealthSpring came the top guy there. Then they were acquired by Cigna, became the top guy there. And that put me on the roadmap to become an integrity partner and got a huge settlement for both my companies I started, Global Career Benefits and the Holland Insurance Group. So I look back on the younger self, don't sweat that small stuff. And realize that adversity is part of the business, guys. You got to understand the crisis, the challenge, the frustration, the anger, having those tough weeks is actually a blessing to you to promote you to the next level. There's a lot of challenges in any business. But you have to get that in your mindset. It goes back to that attitude, how you deal with adversity. So if I could talk to my 20-year-old self and 30-year-old self, don't sweat that small stuff. Realize that's just God trying to promote you to the next level.
So awesome, good, man.
And thank you so much for coming on today. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you.
Well, you can reach out to me. They can have my number. My website is globalpremierbenefits.com. They want to check us out there. I'm also on Instagram, the Tony Holland, and they can reach me direct. I actually one of the few IMOs out there that actually take personal phone calls. I like to text better, but you can reach me at 443-253-3634. And I'll share any of the stuff I have. I have slides, I have tools, I'll do personal workshop, and I don't charge for it. A lot of these guys are charging for the same stuff I taught them. I've gone to these workshops and some of these conferences you were just talking about earlier. It's shocking. I'm like, that's what I teach and you're charging for it. I don't charge for my training. I don't charge for anything because I'm here to pay it forward to others like it was paid forward to me.
That's awesome.
I want to help that guy that's in that tough situation and maybe in the band or going through tough times and has a desire to succeed, knows it's in him and just needs a coach, more of a coach. I want to coach him through that adversity and help him get to the next level.
That's awesome.
I love that. All right, Tony, thank you so much again. And thank you all for listening. You can get those links and that number that Tony mentioned in the show notes of this episode. You can get all that over at staypaidpodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. We will read it here on the show. And the best way to support the show is simply share this episode with somebody that you know. If you want to get hold of me or Luke directly, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And you can follow us and message us on Instagram as well. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Tony, you did not disappoint, man. You're an absolute beast. Hopefully we get to connect in person. Can't wait to meet you in person. My action item for everybody watching this, besides that your burden becomes your blessing. I mean, I think that is just absolutely incredible from a foundational principle. But I think tactically, what you can take action on right away. What an incredible idea he gave you of going and looking at the open panel for the doctors in the area and these companies. I mean, that's just an incredible thing that you could do to go build a relationship with that local doctor to help them earn new business. Another thing that if you don't focus in that area, maybe that line of insurance, is you have a brand whether you think so or not. The question is, are you controlling that brand? I would challenge you today, Google yourself and see what comes up. Google yourself. Go type in your name, Luke Acree, on Google and see what comes up. Your name's not Luke Acree, just FYI. That's mine. But go Google and see what comes up, because that is what is being represented to your clients. And you can control that narrative. You don't have to be controlled by it. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.